your windows, close your doors, with your smalls. Yeah.
Alright, we're back for another week of Tiger Talk with me and Jameer. And this week's reading was on regulation, so I'm not going to waste any time reading right into the questions that we have come up with. So I'll start with the questions. So based on this reading, we came up with some stuff we wanted to ask each other, and the first question I want to ask Jameer is more based on today and what I got from this chapter is, Jameer, what do you think about the legislation regulating the TikTok ban, and discuss your thoughts on them regulating access to social networking apps?
Due to the TikTok ban that they put in place today, you said, what are my thoughts on it?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the TikTok ban that happened?
Not to get too political, but just my broad thought on it. I think it's a good thing that it's banned. Like, there's not much censorship on TikTok, and there have been things of like China stealing our data, and like if you look over in places like China that run TikTok, their TikTok is a much different platform. It's not like where people of like ages 12 and up can get on it. For like people that are under the certain ages, they have restrictions and censorships that are placed on the app to where they cannot see like everything that goes on, which it's giving in our country, it's giving people too much information at such a young age, and they can't really comprehend what they're seeing. So like when you see like a lot, if your algorithm's full of like political stuff when you're 12 years old, and you see like a lot of hate from the right or hate from the left of political parties, you're almost like shaping people, and like, I don't want to say promoting like propaganda, but it is a little bit of propaganda, because people can post whatever they have free will to post whatever they want on TikTok, unless it's not like nudity or like curse words. They can push certain idolizations on young children with no remorse, because there's no censorships that come with that. And I think a TikTok ban, or just like a TikTok reboot, where they pretty much put the censorships that are needed onto it, where especially with people younger ages, like if you're 18 or older, you're considered adult in the United States. So there shouldn't be any problem with that, but they need to regulate it more in terms of like younger youth, children. So I'm not against the TikTok ban, but I'm also not 100% for it.
Yeah, with the putting regulations on it, and you see a lot of that with YouTube, where you go click on a video, it's I'm verifying I'm 18 years old. Like,
Yeah.
I'm able to watch this, it was annoying for me back in the day, because like you couldn't watch certain videos, but it does help whenever you have young minds that aren't fully developed yet, and TikTok is a great way to warp your mind in some way, shape, or form, and like you said, algorithms will pull up videos, and it's kind of weird. It's like you say something, and later that night it's on your TikTok, or somebody around you say something, it's on your TikTok. The algorithm goes crazy. And yeah, but I agree with what you said. Not one way or another, but I see the censorship part on how that would help. The second one I wanted to ask you is, should children and teens have different social media rules from adults? So from children and teens, I'm going to say up to 17,
Yeah.
18 to the adults, so they have different rules.
100%. Going back to what I just said, it's just a regulation issue. Letting certain children and teens on certain sites, it just shouldn't be allowed. Yes, we live in a free country, but I don't think it should be the judgment should be placed, or like what's the word? I'll just go with judgment for lack of better terms. It shouldn't be placed, or the responsibility shouldn't be placed on the government to regulate all this stuff. It really just starts in the household. It comes with a societal norm that nowadays these mothers and fathers, they're the ones kind of growing up that's leading into, like, they grew up with the internet and with the phones. Back in the day, those mothers and fathers didn't, so they regulated it a lot better, because, yeah, they didn't know, but they also had a suspicion because they didn't know exactly what was on there. So they didn't really let their children get on those certain type of websites. Now it's like, you know what's on those websites, so it's like, you watch it, so why don't you let your kids watch it? It's just a weird societal norm that we live in, to where it's like even my brother, my mom got him a phone when he was in like 5th grade. I didn't get my first cell phone and get on the web until probably freshman year of high school. So it's just certain things that we gotta kind of grow as like a community in the country to kind of combat these bad things that are going into our children's minds. But for adults, it's like you have every right to look up whatever you want on the internet as long as it's not going to like dark web stuff. But if it's just like a age restricted video, you have every right to bypass that firewall. But when it comes to children, I think there's reasons why we should have like age restrictions on certain things.
Yeah, what you were saying earlier with the children and the restrictions. Yeah, there's gonna be. I also agree there should be different rules from adults and teens and kids, but kids are gonna find a way around those rules. And like you said, the parent, you can put all the restrictions and everything that you want on these videos and on social media, but there's always gonna be loopholes around it.
Yeah.
The parents, I think, have to do a better job at looking after their kids and seeing what they're on, because at the end of the day, these regulations and stuff can only do so much, because there's ways around it. So I've more looked at the parent side of it. It sounds cliche, it sounds like something that we've always said, but I think if you don't want your kids doing certain stuff, you gotta watch them better, because nowadays you can get on whatever you want in a couple seconds. To wrap that up, since we both pretty much agreed on that, what's one big change to social media regulation you think will happen in the next 5 years? Which I thought this one was kind of difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult because technology has grown so much just even the past 5 years. Every year we come out with some new state-of-the-art technology, and us as humans, we evolve at maybe a little bit every century. Technology evolves within a snap of fingers, like in a year. So like even like cars. 20 years ago, every car was running on gas. Now we literally have flying cars now. They're not on the roads, but they are made and they do fly and they do drive. But with that, it kind of leads into social media. Social media is going to grow so much faster than we know. I see it either going really good or really bad, especially with new stuff like AI. I would say this is not concrete, but if I was to really guess like how social media would look in 5 years, like the regulations on it, I think there would be a lot more restrictions, and I think we would also have a problem, say with AI and people getting way too comfortable on the internet due to the lack of information people have about what they're posting in their digital footprint, and things such as the AI can kind of uncover those things, and I don't know, it almost feels like a movie. So I say if we do put regulations on social media, it will be a lot better, but also I see it going the opposite way where there are no regulations at all, and I don't see it being really great. I don't know if that 100% answers the question, but that's just me kind of thinking out loud.
I'll be honest with you, I was trying to think of questions to ask. This one, I came up with it looking into the future. We talked about it in my business and management class. I was like, this would be cool to talk about. On a regulation, I have no idea. It's like you said, it's so hard to tell where technology's heading. I mean, there's something new every day, every hour, every second that we don't even know about yet. We talked about in the last episode. We're just scratching the surface of AI, and
like it wasn't even until like last year that like things like ChatGPT became a thing.
then it's just escalating.
And now it's like you have AI for literally everything.
So I could not tell you where the regulations were going to be in 5 years, nor can I wrap my head around it.
Yeah,
at all. I was hoping maybe. I thought it was a good question for you, but it's just a tough one.
Yeah.
Where we're at.
All right. So, question I have for you, Matt: if you could create one rule to make social media healthier, what would it be?
Social media to be healthier, I would try to, for social media to be healthier, if I had to create a rule, I would look at the negativity on social media platforms. We know how it is. It's toxic. People just get on. I have a friend back home. He just gets on Twitter, X. He just gets on to argue with people about sports and all that. But I mean, there's political arguments, there's sports arguments, there's arguments about everything. It's just so negative, and it's hard to see who people truly are on social media, or if they even mean what they post. And I would try to limit the negativity, and maybe because I think social media can be a great tool, marketing and all that kind of stuff. But if everybody was just positive, it'd be such a more enjoyable platforms to get on, and it wouldn't be as depressing to get on Twitter. It wouldn't be as depressing to get on Instagram or TikTok and see all this stuff. But I would look at the try to regulate the negativity on there, ban people. I mean, anything necessary. Another one that I kind of thought of that is extremely controversial, and I'm just going to throw it out there, is kind of a limited screen time. I mean, these social media apps throughout the day, if you're on it for a certain amount of time, it closes off. And I know there'd probably be some people, I know I need that, I hate that, it's my own free choice, and I get that. And then there's also other people like, yeah, I would love for my TikTok to shut down at a certain amount of time in the day so I can, because as much as we don't want to be on, we're drawn to it. To go out, maybe if it's shut down, we go out and experience the world a little bit more. That was an extremely controversial one that I came up with, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. I think it's fun to explore, but limited screen time on these social media apps, which I don't think will ever happen, is kind of fun to think about.
I agree with it to an extent. For like the limited screen time, I would say if you put in a policy where if you're under the age of 18, it comes back to age. So if you put in a policy where you're under the age of 18, it can go up like in increments, like 16, you get a little bit more. 17, you get a little bit more. But like when you're like 8 years old, 12 years old, you don't need all that screen time. So I think it's 100% on the parenting. So if you really kind of coax these people into putting these limits for helping your social media use and having the limits for this kind of social media versus a constructive, more like learning social media, it'll really help people in the long run. It's kind of because it's already grown so much, you can't kind of go back and undo certain things. So now this is a good starting point for everybody to kind of make the initiative. Like when we have children, or if we already have children, make sure their screen time is very healthy and limited. So when they have children and when they get out into the real world, once they turn 18, they'll have that foundation to live off of, so they don't have to have that dopamine hit. They don't have to crave that social media like a lot of us do, because we never had somebody. I don't know about you, Matt, but like my mom really, when I got a phone, she didn't really understand. It's not that she didn't care, but she really didn't understand like what social media can do to your brain.
Yeah.
Once you receive so much dopamine over a certain amount of time, it's like a drug. So I also learned this in another communications class. It's social media is directly related to like alcoholism and any like drug addicts, because it releases that same dopamine effect every time. That's why like on your phone when you get notifications, there's people that are behind these certain little things that you get dopamine hits, because every time you get a notification, what do?
Check your phone. Yeah.
You check your phone, and that's a small little dopamine hit. And say you're on like a game on your phone, it gives you a reward. It gives you a notification. You have gotten a reward. Yeah. It's another dopamine hit, and you're just getting that constantly, and it's just kind of ruining our interpersonal conversations, our relationships, and overall, it kind of just makes us, I feel, a more dumb population. Although we have all the information in front of us, it's not all great information.
I think it's a more reliant population.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't know something, I mean, it's great if you don't know something, you can look it up, but
yeah,
it's kind of, it's something we lean on. It's something that, hey, if I don't remember this, it's always going to be here for me. Like, what I'm kind of like you said, I've always thought about this, is this generation going to be more dumb? Right?
Yeah.
Are we going to be more dumb? Just because if I don't know something, and I've had internships where like, hey, if you don't know something, you look it up with AI, or you look it up. Like, there's no more memorizing now. Like our parents and everything else talk about, hey, we had to do this. Like you had to know the ins and outs. Hey, if you don't know something, these jobs, like just look it up. This is what technology is here for.
Yeah.
So Yeah, when I was thinking about limiting screen time, I do not think that social media should have to put screen time for kids. I think, like you said, it should really be on the parents. I mean, I think that's too much. I think it's too much intervention. I think it should be on the parents. But yeah,
Okay. Another question for you. Should platforms be responsible for fact checking content? Why or why not?
No. Again, I think it's just asking too much. No, they shouldn't be responsible because I think everybody. It depends on what we're putting out there. Because what can be true if a certain platform is like, all right, well, we claim this is true, so you can only put this version out there. But Instagram, we claim this is true, but you can only put this out there. It's too much time. It's too much effort. It's too many resources. I think it's just too much, and I think if something's out on the internet that you're hesitant about, you're curious about it, you want to learn more about, you can search other webs, you can search other ways to fact check it yourself. I don't think that social media platforms should be obligated to fact check everything that goes out there. I don't believe so at all.
See, with that, when I think fact check and social media, like all these, I'm very draw between the two of yes they should and no they should not, because with social media and having, it's like, say I own a big media company, I now have influence over a wide range of people. People know, like, say I'm the owner of Walt Disney. They're a top 5 company when it comes to media. They own a lot of media outlets. So say they can push a certain truth, in quotes, truth out there and spread it across all their media companies. And that now becomes the truth. Say it wasn't the truth in the first place. It's very far from the truth. That now becomes a truth for some people that it's now like a fallacy. It's not, it's just a lie. You're lying to certain people. And there's also a thing out there where in certain regions, sorry to make it all about politics, but like back to politics, like there was, somebody did a study or just a simple observation is like, say I live in a Democratic state. If I look up Donald Trump, say I type in the words in Google, Donald Trump, the afterword in that Democratic state is why Donald Trump sucks. Donald Trump charges. Donald Trump, it's all negative terms.
Yeah.
But say you look it up in a Republican state, it's going to give you a different search bar. And I think that it's cruel and it's misleading people. And I think the truth is very, very hard to find on social media these days, and it divides us as a country. So the more we are divided, the weaker we are. So I think, yes, media companies should have a little bit of responsibility when it comes to fact checking, and they should be able to give sources, but it's also on the people to understand that what you see on social media and what you see on the internet is never going to be 100% true. You got to go out there and do your own research.
You gotta do your own research, and I just think it would take, I don't know how many resources or money would have to be poured into these social media platforms to fact check everything on their platform.
Well, I can tell you right now, it would never happen because so much money is made by media companies. I'm not gonna say they just blatantly lie, but there's so much money made that from media companies reporting on something that is controversial and even just twisting it a tiny bit, taking things out of context. They'll bring in all these viewers and they're making so much money off it. So for somebody to come in and say, hey, you can no longer do that, a media company is just going to tell you to leave. Like, well, if we don't do this anymore, we're losing millions and millions, sometimes even billions of dollars if you put it in a broad scheme of things. So it would never happen. So it's really, with that being said, it's really on the people that are observing these media outlets and these social media pages to take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And understand that they have to do their own research. They should see both sides of everything. When you see like a simple Google search, it's just like, just make sure you're not taking it for what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You fact check your own stuff. I get it would help, but I just don't see how that's possible, to be honest.
Okay. For another question for you, Matt. Would social media feel different if it had the same regulations as TV or newspaper?
Yeah, it would feel completely different.
When you say so when I say social media, I'm talking about like as in like Twitter.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking about Twitter. Yeah, it would feel completely different. I think there would be, I feel, fewer stories to talk about, since when I think of newspapers and TVs, I think of straightforward, get to the point, fact checked. We're going to talk about it in this way, shape, or form. We're not going to go outside of this. We're not going to make it too extremely controversial. I think I go on social media to get the raw information.
Yeah.
I want it so I can make my own choice. I want it straight up, how it's going to be. If I go on TV, I'm not a big news guy. If I go watch the news when I'm back home or at my grandma's or wherever the news is on, it depends what channel you're on. That's what the information you're going to get. It's fact checked. It's very precise, and we're going to do it this way. I feel like social media can give it to you just raw. Sometimes it's not. I don't think it's the best way to do it, but it'll let you make your own decisions. But like you said, there's some avenues in social media where you go down and it leads you down a rabbit hole that is strictly based on what region you're in or yada yada yada, what you've searched up in the past, what your views are, the what's it called, what is it, where algorithms are, the algorithms are crazy. They know what you like.
I would say I 100% agree with that. I mean, like, social media now, especially like apps like Twitter, Reddit, all that, it's raw imagery, it's raw everything. It's coming straight from the people. And with TV broadcast and newspaper, it goes through so many teams. So many, like, say you have a story you want to talk about. It's going to go to this person. Then it's going to go to the next person. Once it gets approved there, it goes to this next person. And they're all looking at it and they're writing things down, they're taking things out, they're exiting things out, they're putting new stuff in. How is this going to show up on television? And then it goes to the next person. They do the same thing until it becomes this one polished thing that really fits into what they believe in that news network. So when you're getting that information, you got to really understand that this information has made it up a ladder. So here's the raw information that they get it. Now it's going up this ladder and it's going through these teams. They're exiting things out and they're polishing it up to be presented on the news. So when you're receiving that information, it is just a polished version of the raw information. And raw information is 100% times better because now you can make a rational decision of what is right or wrong instead of the media or the newspaper or TV kind of telling you already, this is right, this is wrong. You can now decide for yourself.
Yeah, and I do think when we say it's coming out raw and all this kind of stuff, it's not. I do believe that these social medias, they have algorithms that fit your beliefs. So you might get information that is strictly one side or the other. But I think the regulation on social media allows for more open-minded discussions rather than TV or newspapers. And honestly, I just think if we had the same regulations as TV and newspapers, social media would be a lot more boring and not entertaining, and there would be no need for it whatsoever. So
100%.
That's basically where I'm at with that.
All right. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm your co-host, or host, co-host.
Oh, okay.
We're both hosts.
Host.
Host. And that'll be all for Tiger Talk.